And on the line of your reel, to the rods, to the anglers, to the lures on the end of your hook, let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your hosts, Rob Welch and John Stoudinger.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John.
How y'all are? Cage Rob here hanging out with you.
Got your Tennessee orange on, huh?
Yeah, and Kentucky fans I work with don't really like it too much, but hey, I bleed orange. I went to Tennessee. My son graduated, so is what it is.
Yeah, I'm orange too, except for it's Syracuse orange.
Yeah, oh yeah, I hear it. And the wife's a Kentucky fan, so I gotta tread lightly.
You don't have to. You can just sleep on the couch.
Yeah, well, we always have a bet during the Tennessee-Kentucky basketball games, and here lately I've been winning more, so it's been all good. Been good.
Is Coach Cheetah Parley still there at Kentucky?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
they not yet, but they got a new women's coach. I know they just hired a new women's coach, which a little controversial, but that happens.
Is it Griner?
No, some lady from Marshall or somewhere, but
okay.
They went outside the Tennessee family on this hire. I think she'll do okay. She'll do okay.
Yeah,
she has big shoes to fill.
Not really. They all have size 8s or 10s.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to let you introduce this
Josh.
Yep. He's a friend of yours.
Yeah, definitely. And a friend of me and Josh's diehard anglers, Jared. He lives down close where Josh is, and he's got diehard anglers. He's trying to start up. Says, don't forget to hit that like, share this out, subscribe. Thanks, Jared. Yep. Yeah, it'll take a minute, but we got her going, Jared. We all good. We ain't quite as technically advanced as you are, but we do all right. But anyway, yeah, Josh, he lives down in Kentucky, kind of toward my area. Kind of Cumberland's his home lake. I know he's hammered them there before. He's fished a lot of Toyota Series as a co and a boater, and he actually won at Pickwick in 2020. And he's got a 4 top 10, so definitely a hammer and a great guy. So we're gonna bring him on, Mr. Josh Lockard.
Hello, sir.
How's it going, Josh? All right, buddy.
Hey, good to be on, man. I appreciate the invite.
Hey, appreciate you, man. I mean, hey, you're perfect. We got what we call wide open Wednesday, and you've been a co-angler and a boater, so man, you fit like a glove, man. You've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I started fishing FOW back in 2017, and I guess kind of got in that on just kind of the tail end of it, and didn't really know it. I think 17, maybe 15 or 16 was the last year that they took co-anglers to the Forestwood Cup, and I'm not sure what it was, maybe the top 25 or top 30 or something like that went. And in 17, I finished 13th, so I would have been in there. Finished 13th as a co-angler in points, and the next year 21st. But that kind of got me started into the traveling fishing, but. Like you said, Cumberland's my home lake. I've lived here, all my life. Grew up on the water. Could always never grew up looking at the lake, but could hear boats running around. My mom sitting on the back porch, listen to Dad and I take off on Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night tournaments. But I was very fortunate to have a father that got me out on the water, got me passionate about fishing. Not only fishing, but tournament fishing, and very fortunate for that, and I thank him for that. And
absolutely,
just struck a passion up in me that besides high school football and obviously hunting and turkey and deer, and it's just something my family and I've got 2 young twin boys that enjoy it, and they tournament fish with me. They'll be out of school. I think Friday's their last day. And the Tuesday nighters have already started up. We've got a Monday night and Tuesday nighter here on Cumberland that my boys alternate and fish with me, and they're little 3-fish tournaments, 4 or 5 hour tournaments, and they win they win their fair share. They actually
Good deal, man.
Account started, and they buy themselves some nice toys at the end of the year. So, been blessed to grow up on this water and just have the love that I do for fishing in the outdoors.
Absolutely. Well, I bet you've seen a lot of changes. To the lake and the community over the years. I bet.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm 40. I've got a birthday coming up 27, so I'm not going to tell my age, but I'm mid 40s, and yeah, yep. I mean the lake has changed, but now the pattern, it still fishes the same. I mean, the forward facing deals kind of changed it up a little bit, but Cumberland's kind of a unique deal. The forward facing guys they've not cracked that nut yet on Cumberland as far as that goes. So it's still nice on Cumberland. You can 9 times out of 10, it's going to be one on the bank. It's not going to be one out scoping, and that's what I do. That's what I love. Do like the live scope. When I see it, I just finished up Chickamauga down there, fished a Toyota down there, finished the Central Division.
Cool.
I caught a lot of my fish not out fishing for just roamers, just throwing at bass, but live scoping, just offshore cover, and that's how most of my fish came. But getting a little better at it. Need to get a lot better at it, but enjoy it still the same.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. You watch fish, how they react to your lures and stuff. It's a pretty cool deal. I mean, it's a game changer.
It definitely is. And like I said, I've got to get a lot better at it. I had it on my boat, like most guys. I had it on my boat a couple years before I ever really paid enough attention to it.
Yeah.
We always called them line Lawrences. My dad and I, we had a graph on the boat. It was for water temperature and depth. Yep. And besides that, if it showed a bass, it was just lying to you. You could see brush piles, but heck, when we started out with the old flasher.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And but it took me a while before I actually trusted it. But now let me tell you, if that dude tells you there's a bass there, there's a bass there.
Oh yeah, whether he bites or not, that's a different story.
Yeah, I mean it's not magic. It doesn't home in the live well for you, but it definitely gives you something to throw at. You can throw at a fish if you look at it enough. You can throw at a fish every time you make a cast if you're good enough. Now that's what took me. I got to give a shout out to Tristan Abbott. He's a handler on Del Holla.
Oh yeah,
good buddy of mine, and of course him and a handful of other guys down there, got that started on Del Holla, and just fishing with Tristan. Him and I fished Del Holla this past weekend, a little benefit tournament, but just going with him. I mean, it blew my mind because he just looked at this screen and scanned that dude over there and never even take his eyes off screen. Yeah. And I'd watch his bait hit the top of the water and go right. I mean, he could just hit him on the head and never even look where he's casting. And I knew then with his success that, I had to get much better than I was. And I'm there, but it's a lot of work. It's not the end all be all. You got to learn how to do it. But we'll get off the forward facing stuff. I just know it's a hot topic. Everybody wants to hear.
Oh yeah. It's the hot thing, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Andrew Pulliam and Rick Amato, thanks for joining us. And Diehard Anglers.
Yep.
Skunk Master. Hey everyone.
Skunk Master.
Dave Childers says.
That's my cousin Dave. What's up, Dave?
Yeah.
All right.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
The transition from co-angler, let me try this in English. Co-angler to pro or boater, whichever you prefer to be called. How was that? I mean, was it tough for you? Because, it sounds like you've had a long history of fishing, so you pretty much knew the...
I guess the biggest part, fishing Toyotas, I mean, there's a big investment there. There's a lot of not only money, but time away from my family. I'm raising a family of 5. I own a business here in town, so I'm fortunate to own my business to where I can work my tail off and take off a week at a time, and practice for these things. But it's a big sacrifice. I guess probably just the nerves of it.
Yeah.
Putting your boat in and Mike Iaconelli driving past you, or Gerald Swindle, or that can really play a mind game with you. So I my first year, of course, I had some success the year prior as a boater. Just about won back-to-back boats. I won the one on Pickwick and then got second at Del Hollow the very next tournament.
Yep.
Won the point series that year. So I thought, hey, I've done as good as you can do on the co-angler side. I've fished even as a teenager fishing bass tournaments on co. My dad, he passed away in 2010 with cancer. But years prior to that, him and I fished 3 and 4 nights a week on Cumberland every Saturday and Sunday, during the spring and the fall and the winter. But I always ran the boat and we bounced decisions off of us as to what we were going to do and stuff. So that wasn't a transition. The transition was competing on these lakes that I was really only familiar with from the back of the boat, which you guys know how that is. It's limited experience at that. But my first year I came out and moneyed in all 3 events and made the championship. So I thought for my first year, I probably fished scared.
Yeah.
I'd put my boat in and kind of get over by myself. I didn't want to see all those big names. I just didn't want that playing with my mind. And my goal the first year was to weigh in a limit of bass every competition day that I fished, and never made a day 3, but I finished, I say mediocre, finished in the mid 30s to mid 40s in every event. But then, man, what a sophomore slump that second year was.
Yeah.
The second year, I think I finished 160 something in points. And, my goal is not to. This is just a very expensive hobby for me and a habit for me and a passion for me. But, my goal is not to qualify for the invitationals or anything, whatever they're calling it this week. I think it's the invitationals this week.
Yeah.
That's not my goal. I've got a family and I love fishing. My goal is to compete. Hey, maybe slip up and win one. But that Toyota championship is my goal every year.
Absolutely.
Even the invitationals doesn't have it. I mean, I honestly think that the Toyota series, for a guy like myself that's not trying to be a professional, it's the best bang for your buck. It's an expensive entry fee, but you can win $80,000 in a regular tournament, and if you can finish in the top 25 of your division, you're fishing for $200,000, a non-entry fee $200,000 tournament, and that's $100,000 off of what the Forest Wood Cup paid, and $100,000 off of what the Classic paid this year. So, for the weekend warrior per se, or the guy that just like high stakes gambling, which I guess that's what you can call what we do. Yeah. That's a pretty good gig, and so that's my goal. My goal every year is to make the championship and maybe compete for that $200,000.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I've heard the same from James Watson and a couple of them. That's most bang for your bucks, got the best payouts. Which, I ain't no doubt about that.
And a great bunch of guys. I mean, all those guys, Mark McGlaw, and all those guys that run our division, the Central Division of the Toyotas. I mean, you couldn't ask for better people.
Absolutely.
We run just a wonderful tournament, and I love them all, and just glad that they do it. That they sacrifice what they do to put on a tournament.
Absolutely.
But
you probably fished that Gunnersville Toyota. I think I fished it a couple years ago, and we had that fog delay, and it was like 325 boats, and we was all sitting there in Goose Pond, just floating around like a bunch of corks.
360.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's 300 something. I remember, but had like a 2-hour fog delay. It was like,
I think there was a boat, maybe a boat and truck went in the water that morning, or
something weird happened. Yeah, that was a weird day for sure, man.
Gunnersville. I love Gunnersville.
Oh yeah,
and I really hope they go back to Smith Lake. I mean, John don't like Gunnersville.
It's a love-hate thing.
Yeah, he's not too hot on. I like it, but he don't.
Well, I've been love hate with all of them, to be honest with you.
That's true. That's true.
Good point.
But now Chickamauga had always had my number. I squeaked out my first year down there as a boater. I squeaked out a check. Of course, I'm not the best sight fisherman in the world, and man, they down there this year there was fish on the beds everywhere. I had a good friend of mine from Oneida that fishes them, and he, that's what he spent his days looking for bedfish, and I was jealous. I mean, he was sending me videos of 6 and 8 pounders, and I just knew there's still 260 or two. I think there was 200 boats, so the field was a little lighter for that tournament. But I just knew most of those guys were doing that, and I tried to just I was trying to find some fish offshore, or not maybe completely offshore, but starting to come out there, post spawners, and that's what I was able to find. And I missed day 3 down there by a pound, 12 ounces, I think.
Oh man.
My co-angler on day 1, which, I mean, just hats off to him. He fished the way a co-angler should. He fished the way I did as a co-angler. I mean, nothing against him, but he did put 2 fish in his side of the live well that day that if I'd had either one of them, I'd have fished my first day 3 as a boater.
Yeah.
So, but pretty tickled with the way the year went. Finished 35th in points. I'm actually going to go to I think it's a Plains division at Lake of the Ozarks in September, I think, and try to make it in the championship through the wild card. So hopefully that pans out. But,
there you go.
Anders.
Good plan, man. That is good. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. Andrew says he has to take a year off the BFLs and hopes to get back at it next year. All Americans is Super Bowl. Now,
absolutely.
I used to fish the Toyota series, and I enjoyed it. I only fished the Northern Division, and I think I fished it 3 years. Qualify. I mean, it's not real difficult to qualify for the regionals as a co-angler.
Yep.
But it's kind of nice to be able to say you qualify at every. And like you said earlier, dollar for dollar, that's the best series going. It's the only one that has a championship anymore, really.
Right.
And the best payouts. I mean,
well, and even those aren't great, but they're the best one that you can, they're the best one out there.
Absolutely.
And I think I fished, I guess on the co-angler side, they could probably do something in the championship for the winner on the co-angler side. It's basically another free tournament, no entry free tournament, but you're still fishing for the same boat. Where on the boater side, you're going to $200,000, which that's life-changing money for most all of them, So I'd like to see them kind of maybe bump that up on the co-angler side, but hey, they've still got a championship that they took away from the invitational guys. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut and hope they don't change nothing.
No, it's too successful. They can't change it. It's got too much success. You're right.
You kind of think the owners of that group enjoy change, because it seems like every week there's a change.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
But they've been smart enough not to change Toyota, so that's one move they have done right. I'll give them credit.
Well, they did mess up the first year they took over.
Yeah, that's true.
They got rid of the FLW championship during the mix of the Toyota championship, and really upset some people.
It did, and I'll keep my opinions to myself on that. There's been a lot of decisions there that been talked about it immensely, and you scratch your head about some of them, but hey, it's why they don't pay me to make those decisions. I just pay my entry fee and smile and put my boat in and go fishing.
There you go, man. That's all you can do.
That's right.
That's all we can do. And here's a strange one for you. I sent a picture of Rob. The Northeast BFL series on Potomac River has more co-anglers than voters.
Yeah.
That never happens in Tennessee or Kentucky, especially on BFLs. That never happens.
No, it doesn't. But I feel like, though, going back to that, I feel like if they don't kind of get a handle on some of this technology, put some limitations on it.
Yes.
to where a guy can, you hear these guys talk about they're pricing people out of tournament fishing, and
absolutely.
I don't know that I agree with that in a sense that you own a boat, and a lot of these guys that are making these comments own a new boat every year. They're investing $100,000 in a new boat every year, but they're going to complain about this $2,500 add-on to the boat. Now, I don't know that I agree with that, but I think if they could at least limit it to where, a few forward-facing, maybe one forward-facing transducer, and limit the inches of screen. That's a big thing going around, and I agree with that.
Same.
You watched, I'm sure you watched Zaldane. I think it was Zaldane do that.
Oh, yeah.
boat deal before their first Elite Series, and some of those guys it was asinine at some of the setups they had, and will they use all that? Yeah, they will at times.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of that is really useless for the most part, and it's going to have its niche times that it's going to come into play. I can't spend $30,000 for hoping that it comes into play sometime,
Yeah.
But I am going to have what it takes to compete, and right now that's some sort of forward-facing transducer on your trolling motor, and some good side imaging graphs on the back,
Yeah.
Which I run Garmin up front. Love my Garmin forward-facing, but I run Humminbirds otherwise, and I do run a 360 as well, Mega 360. But I don't know.
Yeah. We had a guest, Kevin McGibney, on. He's the owner of K&K Customs, which is a aftermarket electronics shop. Boat anchor, shallow water anchors, everything like that. And he has the same stance as you. Right. You're never going to get rid of it.
No.
Okay. There's too much money, so limit it. One transducer. Certain height or certain amount of
I think they're going to look at like 60 inches of graphs. Well, that's still 5 12-inch screens. And if that limits you to the point you can't catch a bass, well, maybe you've got, if 60 inches of screen ain't nothing, you've got more problems than catching bass.
Yeah, that's true.
Why limit it? Tell us how it benefits anyone. Well, it doesn't really benefit anyone, but it does. It levels the playing field. And
exactly.
If you look at college baseball into professional baseball, college guys can, you can use an aluminum bat until you get to the pros, and then in the pros you got to stick with a wooden stick. So I'm not saying that it's really going to benefit anything. It's just going to put people on a more level playing field.
Exactly.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I'm a little stingier than you. I say limit it to 2 graphs at the bow, 2 graphs at the front, cannot exceed 24 inches.
Right.
Per section. So that'll give you 48 total.
So I run 1 12-inch Solix at the back, and I run a 15-inch Solix up front, which I run mapping, and on 30% of that I run mapping, and on 70% I run my 360, and then I run a 12-inch Garmin. That's my setup. I wouldn't want, if I did have the money, to put 2 side imagings on the back of my jack plate, and this, I wouldn't have it, because to me, and I've listened to some of these young rookie Elite Series guys talk about it, that it's a distraction. A lot of that distracts you from what you really need to be focusing on. And if you put that trolling motor down and look at what that forward facing tells you, he's telling you everything you need to know anyway.
Oh yeah.
I'll figure out how to catch him. But
I still think even without the forward facing sonar, the guys that are on the top level are still going to catch fish.
Absolutely. You hear these guys, and I know there's there's one Elite Series dude that's 19 years old, and he's just wrecking them. And I for one think that's awesome.
Yeah.
But you take his electronics away from him, his forward facing, it might slow him down.
But it's okay.
It might slow him down a little bit, but I promise you, he will prevail. He knows enough about fish. And like I said before, that forward facing, it's not magic. You still even got to know where to go look for them to find them with it. And that's half the battle anyway. So,
Diehard Angler says he loves fishing the turtles, but hard to take. I'm going to say the time off, not the year off. But I think he needs time.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, me and him traveled together. Me and Jared, man, we had a good time fishing Toyota. So that's fun. You have all your buddies in the cabin or Airbnb. It just makes it that much better.
That's why I do it. I mean, if it weren't for just the camaraderie of the fellowship with the people that are around me, and I just enjoy to compete. That little tournament, Jared, and I think him and his son got big fish in the other day. I think there were 6 boats in there. It's a little Sunday after church deal out of Fishing Creek. I had 6 boats. Hey, if me and one of my boys go fish that, I'm gonna fish it like I'm fishing the Toyota Fish Championship. I mean, that's just the way I go about them all, and I swing a lot of times and I miss a lot of times, but I'm going to swing hard on every one of them. I just love to compete.
Absolutely, man. I'm the same way.
Andrew's saying Trey McKinney, and he is killing it.
He is, yeah.
Hey, all the rookies are doing well.
Absolutely.
And it's, some of them better than others, but like a friend of mine and finished 10th at the Classic this year. Yeah. As a rookie.
Yep.
And he wasn't forward facing the whole time either.
Right. Well, when it comes to that, I think I listen to I listen to a lot of podcasts while I'm working. I own a pallet business. I drive a truck, repair pallets, haul pallets. So I've always got a truck driver headset in. I'm listening to a podcast. But I think Rick Clunn kind of put it best, and I don't even remember what podcast he was on, but the discussion came up on that and these young guys that they're competing against, and they're really, whooping up on those old guys. It's talking about the forward facing and the electronics and this and that. And Rick said, hey, if you want to be the best at bass fishing, which Rick Clunn he's the GOAT, you have to compete against that as well.
Oh yeah.
If you run from that, then you can never say you were the best, because that's part of being the best is beating the here and now, and he's got the passion to do that, and I love to see that from a guy like Rick Clunn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It makes no difference. It's in every professional sport. The older you get, your body diminishes, and there aren't too many professional athletes in their 40s or 50s, that are beating the 26, 27-year-olds.
That's right.
It's a sport,
And it's not going away. That technology, it's not going to go away. So
no.
Best thing to do is just embrace it and do your best to learn it the best you can, and use it when it's beneficial, and hey, turn it off when it's not, because here on this pond right now, I spent a lot of days down there not catching bass because I was chasing them around with my forward facing, not knowing at the time how to make them bite, and so it just takes years, just like I said, Tristan looking at his graph and winging one out there at 70, 80 feet and dropping it on his head. I mean, he didn't learn that overnight. It took getting off of work at 4 o'clock and having an hour and a half of daylight, and him putting his boat in and spending that hour and a half doing that until he got it down, So
absolutely.
Yeah. Brock says he loves it when his boat is scoping because he knows he's around fish, and that's true.
Oh yeah.
And and the key thing here I like about it is he gives the boaters all the room, and they're respectful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If you're a jerk to your boater, it's going to make for a long day for you.
Hey, listen, I spent a lot of time in the back of guys' boats, and fortunately, I had most of my boaters were great. Now they weren't always on fish, and that's just part of fishing. I mean, but you just have to make the best of what's put in front of you in the back of the boat. I want to say it's less stressful fishing out of the back, because you don't have that decision making element. All that pressure's on you. If you're that guy, your co-angler saying, well, my boater was a good guy, but he just wasn't around him. Well, that was my fault.
Yeah.
Not his. But I love the co-angling because I put my 6-7 rods in there and, just fished what he put me around. And if I caught him that day, hey, great. If I didn't, I fished even harder the next day. And one of the best parts about fishing a multi-day co-angling tournament is if you can just catch a couple fish on the first day, you're still in it. I mean, magic happens in the back just like it does from the front, but a lot of times in the back it doesn't take a 25-pound bag for it to be magic. It takes that 12 or 15-pound bag, and it can move you up just immensely. So that's what I enjoyed out of the back is just I didn't have to think about running the trolling motor. I didn't have to think about where I was going. I looked at what was put in front of me, and I fished at the best of my ability. And Lord bless me, I was pretty successful at it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you get to learn from him. On top of that, you get to learn from your boater, see what he's doing, see how he's breaking it down. So, I mean, another thing I like is going and riding all these different kind of boats. You say, well, I like this one because of this one because of that. So that's pretty cool.
So I fished the Northern Division. When did I fish that? I think I fished the Northerns in
20.
Maybe it was 20. But I traveled up there with Justin Atkins. He's a buddy of mine, and got to fish the Potomac River. We fished St.
Lawrence.
We fished Potomac River, Champlain, and St. Lawrence.
Now, I've been trying to tell Rob he needs to hit Champlain.
Let me tell you.
I'll bet you get up there.
Now, Champlain's wonderful, but you talking about those boat rides and those co-anglers. I drew a local up there, and the wind was blowing. Atkins, when we pulled in that morning, he's like, nah, they're not going to let us go. They'll delay it or, cancel a day or something. And my guy was going to Ticonderoga, and let me tell you something. 21-foot Phoenix, young guy. They called our boat number. He takes off and cranks his music wide open, and it's Pantera or something like that.
Oh, no.
He matted that Phoenix from where we took off up there. He brought John probably knows where we Plattsburgh. No, well, yeah, and went plumb to tie, and that was probably the worst boat ride I've ever been in my life. I've been in a lot of them too. I've run a Bullet with a 300 on it and had, I love speed and boat rides don't bother me, but that was a rough one. But yeah, love those northern lakes. But now I guess the St. Lawrence is probably my favorite. Out of those three. Nice.
Oh, cool. Can't beat that.
Yeah, I'm in a tough spot because I'm 10 minutes from Cayuga, 45 minutes from Lake Ontario, a little over an hour from St. Lawrence, 4 hours from Champlain. It's a terrible spot I'm in.
Yeah. So where exactly do you live, John?
I'm in New York.
Okay.
Upstate New York. Yep.
Let me tell you something. I'm just a little peon from Kentucky here. When I first went to New York, of course, I had my notions of what New York would be, and that upstate New York has to be the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. I would pack my family up and move us up there in a heartbeat. I loved it up there.
Man,
it is, and Rob talks about the Blue Ridge Mountains down there on Douglas, you get now if you can get a decent day on Champlain, that ride from Plattsburgh to Ticonderoga isn't too bad.
Yeah, right.
And it's a beautiful one too.
Right.
But it's funny because years ago, that's what everybody was doing. They were going from Plattsburgh to Ticonderoga. Now they're going Ticonderoga to Plattsburgh to the smallmouth.
Yeah, the largemouth just don't play as much up there, do they?
No, they don't. But, what's your technique?
So I'm kind of a winding guy. I like to. I mean, I'm a spinnerbait, kind of guy, crankbait kind of guy. Probably well, when you get around grass, I love a chatterbait and that sort of thing. But I do throw that finesse stuff. There you go. Yep. green pumpkin's my favorite, to be honest with you. I stick a green pumpkin chatterbait in my hand down at Gunnersville most all the time. But
I stuck one in my finger tonight.
But yeah, I do finesse fish too. I like to drag, brush pile fish, throw a shaky head. As a co-angler, a shaky head was my best friend. I know the drop shot's a big thing now, and the Nico rig and that sort of thing. But still, those techniques just weren't in my repertoire at the time when I was fishing out the back of the boat. But so more of a power shaky head, a 5/16 with a big mag finesse, zoom, trick worm was what I'd always pair it with, and just drag it. Throw it on 15-pound test line with a 7.6 medium heavy rod. Really crack them with it. But yeah, I mean that was as finessey as I got, and that's what I did out of the back of most guys' boats when I fished as a co-angler. But now, even at Chickamauga, I was catching them on 8-pound test line on a Nico rig, So.
Yep.
But
James Willie said he's seen a said spinnerbait guru, and I thought it was on the show.
No, you got the guru right there, man. Well, talking about spinnerbaits, what's your favorite spinnerbait setup, like for half ounce?
Mine?
Yep.
So like I throw. I actually got some spinnerbaits out here.
All right.
There's a local company here around me called Hooks and Bass Baits.
Yep.
He makes some really nice custom spinnerbaits. But if you look at that thing, I mean, it's an old style bait. Kind of.
Yep.
Most of the weight's hidden behind the skirt.
Yep.
So you can throw a half ounce, 3/4. I throw a 3/4 a bunch. Of course, we're not around grass here. I'm throwing it on wood a lot of times. But that right there, you can throw a 3/4 in that, and it's got the profile of like a 3/8 or something, But I'll throw that on a 7.6, 15-pound test line. I'm a fairly fast gear ratio guy. I like a 7.3-to-1, something like that. I don't, even when I'm deep cranking here on Cumberland or on those ledges, I still like that. I can always slow it down, but when I get that bite, I can't speed a 5-to-1 up enough to keep them hooked up when they jump and stuff. So,
absolutely.
I also throw a War Eagle some. On Cumberland, you never know what you're throwing. What the water clarity is going to be when it is spinnerbait time. It may be chocolate milk or it may be crystal clear. So I throw a variety of spinnerbaits, but that one is one of my favorites for sure.
Absolutely. And you can go one section of Cumberland, it's gin clear, go another, and it's muddy as can be. I've seen a lake, I mean, just a couple miles, it changes totally different.
So I live on the upper end of the lake.
Yep.
Actually, between Waitsboro and Fishing Creek is where I live.
Yep.
But right now, it's got muddy water coming out of the rivers. And this time of year, you just never see, that much color put in Cumberland. But, man, we had a bunch of rain. And
yeah, we have.
Walked plumb across it in many places with the timber that's on it. But you go to the other end, you go down to Beaver, Otter, Indian, and you can probably see fish bedding in 10, 12 foot of water.
Absolutely.
Nice. I will say you have one of the best backdrops that we've had so far.
Well, good.
Absolutely.
It took me a minute to get that together. I appreciate it.
Oh, I hear you.
These turkeys are actually a couple birds my boys killed. They're their first turkeys that I had a guy in Tennessee mount. Yeah, so
I let turkeys go.
You what?
I let them go.
You let them go? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I used to work at Army Depot here in Richmond, and I kid you not, it'd be like a road, like a dirt road. There'd be 20 hens here, and you go right up to them, and they go across the road one at a time. Then you go 2 rows over, there'd be 20 gobblers, same thing. It'd be 20 of them, It'd be one at a time right in front of you.
Yeah.
It's funny. They're funny. They're funny creatures.
They are. I love them. And I didn't get to hunt much this year. I did harvest one bird and then spent the rest of my time trying to get my boys bird, and they didn't have much luck this year, but close, but not successful.
Yeah, they can be tricky.
Yeah, James says Cumberland's a pretty much hard nut to crack. Some days he flat out catches them, next days he struggles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I think that could be every lake though.
It is, but Cumberland's notorious for it.
absolutely.
Cumberland's very notorious. Now it is a great pattern lake as well. You know, if you do find, figure something out, you can kind of run it most all over the lake. But then you, once again, in the spring and the fall, you get into that difference in color. Up the river, you're going to probably have some stained water. You get on the lower end, you're most likely going to have clear water. So then that starts affecting your pattern. But at the same time, it is a very patternable lake. But sometimes they can hide good on Cumberland.
Yeah, and we got all three species of bass. We got the spots, the smallies, and largies. So that's one thing I like about Cumberland.
Yeah, and I try to stay away from those smallmouth as a norm. In the wintertime, I'll target them because you can catch several keeper fish on crankbait stuff. But that 18-inch size limit, I guess we're more fortunate than some lakes. I think Douglas down there and Del Hollow have a slot limit that you can only weigh one or something like that. But
Del Hollow you do two, and it's like 16 and over 21, so it's tough.
So you can weigh in a limit of over 18 smallmouth on Cumberland, and a lot of times, those fish are going to win the tournament if a guy can put 5 of them together. But this lake doesn't get enough credit for the largemouth it's got in it.
No,
it's definitely got a healthy population of largemouth as well. I think I've caught the lake had a big drawdown when they were working on the dam, Rob. You probably remember that.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Several years. The first year that thing came up, I was just getting familiar with an A-rig, and it kind of got up over some flats and in the head of Pittman Creek right here. Most people don't think of Pittman Creek being a creek that holds a big bag, but I caught a 23-pound bag of bass out there, 2 small mouth, 3 largemouth on a rig, and I fell in love with A-rig that day. But then I think MPFL tournament down here 2 years ago, there was a monster bag like that caught 23, 24 pounds, and it came out of Pittman Creek too. So that's kind of a hidden gem that a lot of guys just overlook it. It's just a small creek on this end, and a lot of people overlook it for having that potential, but it's definitely got potential.
Absolutely.
Now, is there one lake that you've not been to that you'd like to go to?
Well, I would like to go to Lake of the Ozarks several times before into September.
Yeah. I heard that.
Get familiar with that. I've never been there and don't know anything about it. I know it's got, I think I read online, it's got 75,000 docks. I know it's a big, big party lake, similar to Cumberland as far as summertime traffic and stuff. But I think it's a brush pile pond, and there's a lot of brush piles, and so. But no, to be honest with you, I'm very blessed. I've used to have some lakes on my bucket list, and I've been fortunate enough to get to fish most all of them. Santee Cooper, I know we were speaking earlier, and you talking about maybe lakes that I didn't care if I ever went back to or wanted to go back to. I did go to Santee Cooper and fished as a co-angler once, and that's probably one of the best lakes in the country. And I had a horrible tournament.
Oh, man.
One bass for, 2 pounds. So I don't care if I ever go back to Santee Cooper, even though
I'll blame you.
Now, the Gunnersville thing, I mean, it was all my fault. I was too courteous to my boater.
Right.
He had 20 pounds, I want to say, in the first hour.
Yeah.
And he's flipping, and I'm throwing a frog. I probably lost 20 pounds on the frog, but he was like, no, you need to start flipping, getting these. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, he ended up winning the tournament. So,
well, I had a similar situation. Of course, it was on day 3. It was at Chickamauga several years ago as a co-angler in Toyota. And that was back before it was before they changed, they let 25 go on day 3. So it was top 10. I'd already made a top 10, was fishing with Cody Nichols.
Yep.
Now that I know he runs a bullet, and Cody's just an excellent guy, but he was on a 1-cast deal on a rattle trap, a little bitty gravel bar. And he ran up there on it that morning, power poled down. Took him a while to catch his 5, but once he got 5 in the boat, he power poled up, kind of eased the boat off to where I had an angle at it, power poled back down, and told me to go ahead and throw up there. I didn't throw up there because, I'd made top 10. Like I said, I'm not trying to do this to make a living. I'm doing it because I love it. And I wouldn't throw up there. My luck, I would have caught a 7-pounder. It wouldn't help me none anyways, and it might have won him $100,000, and I just wasn't willing to. And I zeroed that day. I did catch bass, but I was all right with that. I made a top 10. I think I finished 9th. But
nothing wrong with that.
And speaking of that, at this tournament, this last tournament at Chickamauga, in practice, I thought I was on probably a 12-pound bag, maybe a 13-pound bag a day, unless I caught a good quality fish.
Yeah.
On day 1, pulled up on a starting hole, caught a close to a 5-pounder. So that was my better than what I was catching fish. My next spot, I caught a high 3, and he caught one close to 4, which was, both of those were, in the upper range of what I thought I could catch. So I ended up with 14 pounds, I think, on day 1, and I had that. He was practicing with another boater, prior to, and he kept talking about these bars. I've got this bar up there. It's closer to takeoff. It's got big ones on it. He only had 2 bass. I was sitting on 14 pounds day 1, pretty happy with that because I thought I was going to have maybe 12, So I said, let's go. I'll save my other stuff. Let's go fish the bar. Maybe I'll learn something. I mean, I'm no dummy. I'm not one of these stubborn guys that's not willing to learn. I'm willing. I love to catch bass. And if you can show me how to do that, well, let's go. Show me.
Absolutely.
We pulled up on that place, and he hadn't made 10 casts and caught a 5-pounder. He ended up finishing his limit out there. I think he had maybe a better bag. I think he had 14-12 or something like that, and I had 14-2. So he had a better bag than me. But I listened to him and took him to a place that he thought he could catch bass, and I learned that there's bass that live there. And it helped him out. He actually was leading maybe in second after day 1. He fished day 3, and I think finished in the top 10. So
wow,
nice.
But there's – not that I did anything special, but there's boaters out there when I was fishing as a co-angler that would have shrugged that off. And, like I said, I've been there, done that. So I kind of take that guy's feelings to heart as well, because I know how it is.
It's even different on a home lake that you know everything about.
Oh yeah.
But
Cody's a great guy. I fished with him on Gunnersville or Chickamauga once. Yep. Man, he's a stick. He hammered him that day I was with him. So I was his professional net man that day.
Professional net man. I've been there. One of my best experiences, I fished in the back of the boat with John Cox on the on the Harris chain down there. He was sight fishing in the Popka Canal, and I netted 25 pounds that day for him. So
ooh.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I ain't.
Brock's getting serious now. I need tips for Pickwick early October. Go to Champlain.
I don't know anything about. I mean, I know a little bit about Pickwick in the spring, but I've never fished Pickwick in October.
Heard that.
James Wheatley, that's him with Norton. They can drain the lake for all I can.
Was that a tough one up there?
Yeah. So the question of the night: your favorite homemade cookie?
My favorite homemade cookie, I'd have to say it's my wife's chocolate chip. Yep.
There you go.
Warm right out of the oven.
Can't beat that, man. Melt in your mouth.
Good glass of cold milk and makes it all go down.
There you
That's
go.
true. Yeah, you talk about limits. I'll tell you what, my lake, I love the lake, but it kicks my butt every time I go to Cherokee. Because part of the year is 15-inch minimum smallmouth that goes 18. Every time the BFL goes down there, it goes down there, it rises, the limit goes to 18.
Yep.
And I catch 17 and a half, and I'm like,
that's what I was thinking of when I was meaning Cherokee when I was talking about Douglas. But yeah, I knew they changed their limits and kind of made it tough for tournament guys down there for sure.
Oh yeah, that's my kryptonite, man. I've caught some, and I was with a guy that won it one time on a rig, and I caught a couple behind him, cashed a check. But besides that, I ain't done anything.
I understand.
Yeah. I got a little story for you too. You talk about the rough water and stuff on Champlain. I fished with a guy on James River. The water was almost smooth as glass, and for some reason, I got the worst boat ride ever. I mean, I think we were out of the water more than we were in. and day two, that was on day two. Day one, I fished with Brad Hallman.
Yep.
It was a little choppy, but not, great ride. So we get to our first spot, and on day two with this young kid, and I said, "Are you fishing all the opens?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'm glad I got you here." He goes, "Why is that?" I go, "Because I don't have to worry about fishing with you on Oneida."
Oops.
Hey, there's no doubt. There's no doubt, and John, you know this is better than anybody, but boat driver has a whole lot to do with that as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially you get up there on those big waters where you really have to pay attention what you're doing.
Yeah, we can ask our buddy there, Jeremy May, about Oneida.
Oh yeah.
He got a little green around the gills.
Yeah. Only a couple times.
Oh, okay.
Of course, up here is different from down there.
As you
know. Up here, 6-footers are common.
Yep.
And they let you go out.
And the difference between like 6-footers up there though is they get some distance between them. You can you get 6-footers on one of these big southern lakes and they stack up on each other and you have no way to get through them, so you're just it's a totally different deal.
Unless it's the St. Lawrence River, because then you got, I'll call them a box wave, because you got the current, you got the waves, then you got the boat traffic, the barge, and then you got the general everyday boater. It's crazy.
So we went out when I fished there. First time I fished there, I fished with a fellow from Canada, and he had one of these big Ranger boats. I don't even know, like a big walleye boat, I guess.
Well, yeah.
Had big, nice pedestal cushion seats in it. Had a 250 on it. We were running from where is it the furthest up that they take off from, away from the lake?
I almost said Watkins Glen, but it's not.
Well, and when we got down there to the mouth of the lake, we had to get fuel. It took us, I think, 2 hours, but that was one of the best riding boats I've ever been in my life. It was probably, I took a nap on the way down, the way back. We caught good fish, and so I mean, it was awesome.
That is awesome.
But next day, I fished with a guy, and he was trying to get out into the lake, and we spent an hour and a half trying to do that, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, it can really mess your day up. But. Yeah. All right, so time's flying. You can probably see we're a little over 54 minutes in. So we want to give you time to talk about your sponsors, people who've helped you along the way. Just anyone you want to give thanks to, and take your time doing it.
Well, I've got. I mean, my wife is probably my biggest sponsor, and I want to thank her. But I've got some people around here that help me out, Hooks and Bass Baits. Anything I need before I go to a tournament, he'll call me up and say, "Hey, man, what can I make for you that you might need?" And been wonderful at that. Big South Fork Outdoors, they're down in McQuarrie County. They run an archery shop down there, a tackle shop. Those guys they've treated me well. He's ordered stuff for me that he didn't have to, and I appreciate that. B&K Tackle, their company out here in Nancy. Brad's done that for me as well. I want to thank him. But it's tough, as you know. It's tough to have sponsors that back you and stuff. So I don't really have any paying sponsors, but the guys that have the passion for it like I do and help me out there, and I just thank them for it.
Yes,
Rest of
absolutely.
I think I got some sponsors that pay me, some that give me discounts, and people look at the discount as a frown upon. I'm like, look, if I get a 30, 40, 50, 60% discount, that's X amount of dollars I'm putting in my pocket every year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Listen, if you can save any money at all fishing, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, do it.
Oh yeah.
It's an expensive addiction that we're in for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
See, they have, what is it, AA for alcohol? They need to have an FA for Fishing Anonymous.
Yeah, our wives would agree with that, John. I guarantee you.
Not only am I a member, I could be the president. So
yeah,
and owner.
Yep.
What was that? The old Rogaine commercial? I'm not only.
And I should have been one of those too.
Oh man.
I along Rogaine years ago. It was 1994, the year before I got out of the Army. Rogaine was getting popular, so I sent a couple bodies. It'd be on TV, and I sent a couple bottles to my buddies.
You didn't do the old spray stuff, did you? Like the spray makes your hair look thicker.
I don't know. It was like a sample.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they figured out it was me.
Well, I tried it one time, and I grew hair between my fingers and none on my head.
Oh, hey, that's crazy.
Yeah. No, Josh, I want to thank you for coming on.
I want to thank you for having me. I appreciate what you guys do.
I know Rob wants to as well, but have you on again?
Yes, sir.
Definitely.
We're
anytime
definitely talk about spinner baits, because that's a bait that's, since the bladed jig, that's underused.
Yep. Well, it's not underused by me. I throw it all the time, but now Cumberland's a good spinnerbait lake,
Yeah.
But
Barron River is too. Barron River, I fish with some locals there, some BFLs, and they throw spinnerbait religiously all day long.
Yes, sir. We'll definitely dive into that a little bit, and I'll be more prepared. And sounds good. Anytime you guys can have me on, I'll be more than glad.
All right. Well, how about last
Hey, man, we
night?
enjoyed having you, man. Just yeah, there you go. That's all good, man. But, yeah, I'm like you, man. I fished spinnerbait way back 100 years ago when I was born and raised in Mississippi. That's all we had. We had a snagless Sally and man's jelly worms. That's all we had, and we fished the snot out of them.
And I argue with a friend of mine all the time. He's talking about the chatterbait, which I love a chatterbait, but I throw it around grass a lot and stuff. And you can put a chatterbait in places you cannot get a spinnerbait. I mean, you can skip it back under the box, and you can't skip, but you'll get that spinnerbait through stuff that you'll never get that chatterbait through. Brush piles and treetops and stuff like that. So, but yeah.
Now I do have a friend that can skip a spinnerbait.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just said nope.
Yeah.
You want to know how? I'm like, nope.
Yeah. No, I'm good. Of course, I'm throwing a big 3/4 anyways most of the time, and I guess you could probably make that thing skip if you put a big enough trailer on it, but yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'd have to hook like a mag draft up to it.
Yeah.
Hey, I actually, you talk about that FLW on Cumberland. Last year they had the co-anglers. I actually was a co-angler, and in day 3 I went as a marshal. I'll never forget this. I went up to registration, and Bill Taylor was running it, and he looked at me and says, "Rob, I'm sorry, you got a Worldwide Watson today. You got James Watson." But he was skipping in Indian Creek. He was skipping buzz baits and spinner baits like crazy. I say, "How you do that?" He said, "I'm using mono." I was like,
Yeah,
that's interesting. But he finished like 8th, I think, at the time.
I fished with Casey Scanlon in that tournament. I want to say that was a championship, maybe, wasn't it? Maybe it wasn't, but I fished with Scanlon, and we were kind of up in there in that same area Watson was in, and he was throwing blew my mind. I learned something that day. He was throwing a big old chartreuse and white double painted willows, and you could see, how clear the color of the water was.
Oh yeah.
And he was just throwing it in the center of those drains and winding it out there just 4 or 5 foot deep. One would come out of nowhere and smoke it. But that big old bright spinnerbait and that crystal clear water. Of course, it was around the spawnish maybe, or they were getting. Yep. Them fish wanted it for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
We throw them up here.
Yeah. Yep. Now I do here too, but I like to have a little color in my water before I go that way. But now in that same tournament, if I'm not mistaken, Thrift might have been the same tournament. Thrift was catching a lot of his on a spinnerbait with a swim bait on it. Going back and forth. That's a trick that we played down here on Cumberland quite often. Is they'll if they get on a shad spawn or if they're really keyed in on bait, I'll take a skirt off of it and put a swim bait on it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Basically like a mini A-rig.
Yep.
Basically. Yeah, guys from Carolina threw that. They call it coleslaw. It's like white blades and the skirt's like a white, red, and green, kind of like coleslaw, and they swear by it, and they whack them over there on that color.
Yep. I've got plenty of them. Like I said,
I heard that, man.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, thank you very much for coming on. Greatly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys.
Have a good night.
Good night
to
you.
Have a good week. Be safe on the water.
And good luck on your Toyotas, man. And we'll be watching and cheering you on.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy. Have a good, Josh. Appreciate you, buddy. All right.
All right.
All right, man. Great guy, man. Super guy.
I mean, I looked up and it's like 54 minutes. I'm like, already?
Oh, yeah. Hey, like I said, it flies, man, because we're talking about something we know and something we have a passion for. So, yeah, it does fly by. But, another great guest, man. We've been lucky, man. We've had some great guests of late, for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Speaking of great guests, next week we have Rob Welsh on.
Hey, I know that guy.
He'll be on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
I hope so. Anyway,
we're going to start our education stuff on. We have the Cheryl Bowden.
Yep.
On Monday. Viola Talley talk about marketing and stuff like that, and then awesome. Nick Dame is going to talk to us about tidal water. Okay, good deal. I guess I'm a couple days. I should have scheduled him for this week and not next week. Yeah, definitely. Since I'm going to tidal water Potomac. Hey, good time. Oh yeah. All right, everybody. Y'all. And that's Brock. There's Brock. He just chimed in and says there was a few of us on here. We could like and share the stream for you guys. Hey, Brock, please do that. We thank you, buddy. We really do appreciate it. That's something Rob and I are terrible about is, trying to get those nudges in there to like and share and paste and copy and whatever else you want to do. Well, we appreciate all you guys tuning in and giving us a like, subscribe, and we keep you bringing some good guests. But hope y'all tune in next week. We'll have some good guests and some good topics. So y'all please come back. You hear? Hey, I was in a play in 5th grade. Yep. And it was Dallas. Remember that show, Dallas? Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Yep. And my one line was, "Y'all come back here." Well, that's funny. I think I was Daniel Boone or Davy Crockett in 5th grade one time. I had the coonskin cap and everything. So good times. Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, take care, be safe, and see you next week. Peace out.